Hi, everyone. Today I have with me Elissa Lansdell, who is a seasoned communication pro delivering keynotes, coaching, and instructional programs with passion, care, and a sharp wit. Drawing on her extensive background in media and broadcasting, Elissa helps leaders at every level persuade and inspire in their rapidly changing work environments. In addition, she has added the emotion code and Psych K to her work, which has taken her clients to new heights, both professionally and energetically. Elissa uses self-healing energy therapy to help her clients release unconscious patterning and stuck emotional energy so that they may make room for joy and success. And in today's episode, she's going to share with us information about emotion code. And I, along with you, our listeners, can't wait to hear all about it. Welcome, Elissa, to the Balanced Path podcast. And I'm Rosanna, because I don't think I,
Yes.
I said
Yeah,
that.
yeah. You got to introduce yourself. Give yourself
I have to
props.
introduce
Rosanna, thank you.
myself. Yeah.
It's
So
great to be here.
welcome. It's great
Thank
having you
you.
here today
Thank
to talk to
you.
us about emotion code. And maybe, you can start by telling us, what is it?
Yeah, like what the heck is it? Okay, well,
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was 4 years ago at the beginning of COVID, and other people learned how to bake bread. I decided I would become an energy healer. I don't know. I really didn't decide that. It found me, as many things do in the universe. I have come
Yes.
to realize, it's an energy healing modality. So when I say that to people, they go, "Oh, like Reiki?" Yes, very much like Reiki. It's energy healing. We are helping move energy around in your body, and in this case, we're moving energy out. So if you think of emotions as they are, I mean, you can
Mhm.
think of them like this, but they are like this. They are kind of a mass or a ball of energy. And when we experience trauma, as we all
Oh,
have
yeah.
at some point in our lives,
Yep.
some of it we don't even remember. Some of this emotional energy, these balls of energy, get stuck in our bodies.
Mm.
Now, 4 years ago, when I received body code and emotion code treatment, I almost didn't believe it, except for the fact that I felt lighter afterwards.
Wow.
So what it does is it releases this trapped emotional energy. And when you think about trauma, and experiences, they live in our brain, but they can also live in our body.
Mhm.
There have been books written on this. The Body Remembers, or The Body Keeps the Score, I believe, is one of those books. I'd love to write a book on it because I just geek out on this stuff.
Yeah.
Essentially, this stuck emotion can cause us to put up a heart wall. And even when I say that, I bet you know what that means.
Yeah.
A wall of emotional energy. When you say someone has a wall up, that's essentially what you're experiencing.
Hmm.
It can also cause, I was shocked to learn, aches and pains. Now, some aches and pains are just aches and pains,
Yeah.
and I will preface by saying I am not a doctor, and I so appreciate the medical profession. And so if you have any aches and pains that aren't going away, please see your doctor. But
Right.
what I have found with myself and with some of my clients, my family, and pets, that we
Yes.
can
Yeah.
actually release, I mean, the pain goes away
Hmm.
that easily. So that's what
Hmm.
the emotion code essentially is. It involves a form of kinesiology, applied kinesiology called muscle testing, which I'm sure I'll talk about throughout this episode.
Yeah.
But what it does is it allows me to test strong for yes and weak for no. And guess
Hmm.
what? We can all do this. We can check in with our bodies to decide what is yes and what is no. And so I go through, I've got it on my handy dandy phone here,
Hmm.
a chart of 60 human emotions, pretty much all of them negative. And so I muscle test my way to whatever that trapped emotion is, and
Hmm.
we can release it. Almost as simple as that.
Wow.
It's what I love about it is it's not invasive. It's not like therapy. So I
Hmm.
can find out more details usually, like when it happened to you. I don't need to. I don't need to know. I can be very impersonal about this and I can release it off you. But for your sake, Rosanna, like
Hmm.
I might be able to say this happened at age, 27, and you might remember. It'll help you remember what that was and
Wow,
help you
that's amazing.
understand it. Yeah, it really is. It's amazing.
And so when we talk about trauma, we all have some sort of trauma, and there could be huge trauma, like bad trauma, or even something little could cause
Yeah,
trauma, right? So when
absolutely.
you say trauma, it's not just, you were abused as a child or I don't know, you have other examples maybe
Sure.
that you can talk about.
Yeah, it could be an accident that you had. It could be, and for me, as I've worked on myself, I
Hmm.
have pulled up everything from bad breakups to, going by age and then muscle testing further. Okay, what was this due to? Who did this have to do with?
Hmm.
Yeah, breakup of marriage. These are the big things, as you mentioned a few of them, abuse and some unthinkable things can cause trauma, but
Right,
also we can experience trauma, especially as children, and not even consciously know. So
right.
you can have this thing happen to you that anybody observing wouldn't even think of as trauma, but
Mhm.
you are receiving it as trauma, and you're probably hanging on to that emotion because you haven't been able to effectively deal with it. And by the way, this is props to emotional regulation, something I have learned all too late in life.
Hmm.
If we can acknowledge our feelings and then
Right,
let go, we don't get trapped emotions.
right.
So what I'm clearing away for myself only
Hmm.
exists to, I'd say, the last year. I'm sure I will have, I'm a human, I'm a soul having a human experience. So I'm sure there will be more trauma, but it's how we process it. It's being able to say, aha, I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling
Right.
fear. I'm feeling, and this is where I'm feeling it in my body. And now I'm able to release it. So
Yeah.
that's the whole other topic we can talk about for another day.
Right.
But
Yeah.
for most of us, we haven't learned to, 85% of the population does not know how to emotionally regulate. So no wonder there's trapped emotions.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, you bottle it all up, right? And
Yes.
we're not taught to deal with our emotions. We're just taught to deal with the problem and, resolve it or not resolve it and then just move on. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's important that
suppress,
we,
repress. And if you're a man in this society, you've been taught, thankfully, this is changing, but you've been taught big boys don't cry, suck
right.
it up, be a man. So no wonder we have things like toxic masculinity. Again,
Mhm.
another topic for another day. But yeah, it's very easy to see how this can keep an emotion code practitioner pretty busy.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And so you're talking about, listening to your body. And so,
Yeah.
how do we listen to our body and what are maybe some of the symptoms that we might experience?
Yeah, I mean, listening to your body, if you were to say, what's one piece of advice for the rest of your life? One thing you could tell people, I'd say, listen to your body. But it's not, for many of us, there's a lot of noise we've got to cut out in order to do that.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm actually writing a book on that very topic,
Oh,
what we need,
excellent.
the layers we need to release in order to hear ourselves.
Yeah.
And so it can be something as simple as trusting your gut.
Hmm.
I speak a lot about intuition, and the muscle testing really allows me to tap into my intuition. But a lot of us, myself included, just a few years ago, don't even know how. Well, what do you mean? My gut's like, it hurts. I'm stressed. But what does that really mean? So we have to start sitting with ourselves
Right.
and spending that time. It's like building up trust in a relationship. I was just thinking on the way to do this interview, how would I
Mhm.
describe this? And it would be like, in a relationship, you don't immediately have that trust with someone. They're not going to tell you their life story,
Right.
but you need to be with them, sit with them, observe them,
Hmm.
accept them, get to know them and the language they speak. And then you can build that trust. And you need to do the same with your body.
Yeah.
So that could simply be breathing exercises. I know people don't want to hear me say meditate.
I
I have
know
ADHD.
it gets a bad rep. I don't know why. I
Yes.
mean, yeah.
I know why. I've learned why in researching for this book. Finally, I figured out why. And that is because we have a lot of socially acceptable ways of escaping ourselves. That's why
Mm.
we binge watch Netflix. That's why we overeat. That's why we drink too much. That's why we do drugs. That's why I say we, many of
Yeah.
us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's why we have like blocked out the ability to just beingness. It's all about the doingness these days.
Yeah,
But
because we
we
all
need to
have to
just
be, yeah, we all have to be busy, it seems. Like society, that's what society is telling us. We have our cell phones, we have to be connected to work 24/7. We have to, constantly look at our texts to see if anybody's texting us. And like you said, yeah, there's
yeah,
too
yep,
much noise out there that prevents us from, keeping quiet and just, yeah, being.
yeah.
Yeah.
Being, and it is the hardest thing and it's the simplest thing. And I can tell you that over the past year and a half, after my own trauma of a breakup,
Hmm.
that was what the catalyst was for all of this, was what really allowed me to
Hmm.
be quiet. I was ready to let go of all that stuff. Now, it's not easy. I'm still hooked on my phone, but I
Yeah,
know, but I'm conscious about that, right?
right.
I still have little escapisms. I still have a hard time sitting still to meditate, but I love myself. My relationship with myself has grown to the
And
point
that's
where I can
important.
say, yeah, like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
I'm okay with that. And if it's a 5 minute guided meditation in the car,
Hmm.
one that I can do safely, I'll do it. Like,
Right.
or it's 30 seconds to just breathe 3 or 4 times. And
Yeah.
by the way, the breath is your link, your bridge between the body and the mind.
Hmm.
So that's why we keep coming back to the breath. It really is the most important thing.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, meditating only takes, 30 seconds even. You just grab it as you can, do it as you can, in between everything else that we do, during the
Yes.
day. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
really like the self-love, because I've been on this self-love mission as well. And
Good.
it really makes a difference in how you treat yourself. We're going to, you're going to talk about self-care and all that, I think, a little
Mhm.
later, but
Mhm.
um, it builds upon that trusting yourself. So when you talk
Yes.
about that intuition, I never used to listen to my intuition, and I'd kick myself every time
Yes.
because
Yes.
I would say, "Oh, I should have listened to myself. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been in this mess if I didn't."
Exactly. The shoulda, coulda, wouldas, which is worse, by the way, because now we're judging ourselves. That could add on a
Right.
layer of trapped emotion. But yeah,
Yeah.
carry on. It's
Yeah,
true, right?
we're shaming
Yeah.
ourselves. Yeah.
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 And
But
so,
self-love and
you
self-care.
talked a little bit about the connection between emotions and physical health. And
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, physical health, it might be something like arthritis where it might
Yeah.
not be caused by emotion, but there's so many other things that can be caused by emotions. So can you give us some
Mhm.
examples on the
Yes,
types
I
of
would
things?
love to. Yeah, the types of
Yeah.
physical things, manifestations. Well, I will tell you that you mentioned arthritis, and that was going to be my first example. And I can speak, I'm patient zero. It's me. So in 2019, I was participating in this charity. It was called Prancing with the Stars. It was
Oh,
a dance competition which benefited the Oakville Humane Society.
yeah.
I was so excited. I all of a sudden developed such incredible pain in my left knee
Mm,
that I was in tears trying to drive because bending my knee hurt that much. I
wow.
didn't know what it was. I went to the doctor, got an X-ray, and I remember the doctor looking at the X-ray and looking at me, looking at the X-ray and looking at me, and going, your knee is a lot older than you are. You have osteoarthritis.
Oh, wow.
I was in my
Yeah.
40s, well into my 40s. So, okay, no problem. That's what it is. We've got arthritis runs in the family. My mother has different kinds of it. I'll
Mhm.
be all right. I'll just take turmeric and whatever. And it stuck around and it came and it went, but it kept coming back
Mhm.
until I began to do emotion code. And I, like you, originally didn't think, because I'm no doctor. I
Uh-huh.
thought, this is probably something that's just physical and it's hereditary. And
Mhm.
so one day, and it was getting really painful in yoga class, and I would not even, it was I say yoga, it was a hot yoga studio, but we were doing lunges and things like that, and
Okay.
the lunges were so painful, and I thought, okay, am I going to have to just clock out of this? And
Hmm.
then I muscle tested very quietly to myself, is this a trapped emotion? Yes. And it was longing, a longing trapped emotion that
Wow.
had been there for a while. And
Yeah.
so when I left that class, I worked on it, I released it.
Hmm.
I'm telling you, I know people will not believe this when I say it. Within a minute, I thought, okay, I'm going to try it. And I could do lunges, and I have not had a problem since.
Wow.
That was over
That
a year ago.
that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible. So there's that. There's, as I say, veterinary cases can really show you that
Mhm.
the placebo effect isn't necessarily what's happening. Although I always say if it's placebo effect, great. If you feel better, you feel better.
Exactly. Like, who cares, right?
Cares, right?
Yeah.
Especially for something like this that's non-invasive. You're not taking
Yeah.
drugs. You're not, and so, but with dogs, they don't know what you're doing. I know my
Hmm.
parents had a dog, a little Morkie, and he was limping around. They couldn't figure out what was going on. I did a little work on him. Like
Hmm.
they had surgery scheduled, and I
Wow.
found something. This is using body code, very similar, but it goes
Hmm.
into the systems of the body. Thymus gland. I didn't know what a thymus gland was. I
Hmm.
didn't need to know as the practitioner. I just released this trapped energy
Yeah.
and corrected. My mother called me a few hours later and said, "You've got to come and see him." And I thought, oh. And I came and
Oh,
he was running around.
wow, that's
You
amazing.
know, yeah. And then,
Yeah.
beyond the physical, there's other things like another dog. Well, a few dogs I've helped with this. One had a fear of fireworks, which was near and dear to me. I had a
Mhm.
dog who was terrified of fireworks. And there's nothing you can do, it seems, right? They're just
Yeah,
scared
yeah.
and you can't explain it. And so I offered some help to a friend's dog, and she sent me a video on Canada Day of this dog sitting there with
Wow.
fireworks blasting in front of
That,
it. And she said,
wow.
"I do not know what you did. I don't know how you did it. But thank you, thank you, thank you." And this dog was she's like, "This dog is totally calm."
That's
And I was, by the
amazing.
way, in Paris, France, while I did this remotely. So
Wow. That's
it's absolutely, you don't need to be in front of me. You don't need to tell me anything. I just know.
so that's like Reiki, because Reiki you can do distance as well. So yeah.
Sure. Energy
No,
is amazing. Energy doesn't know time and space.
it
Not at all.
doesn't. No, no. That's amazing.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So I was gonna ask, so how do you identify and release these emotions? So you said, you don't have to know the person's history. Um, how do you know?
Yeah. This is a question for the ages. I know, but I don't know. You know what I mean? I feel like a humble servant here. I don't even think, people say, "Are you psychic?" Well, I do believe I have intuitive powers, but I don't believe you need to be a psychic to do this because, again,
Hmm.
all is energy. And this works with intention. It works with that what really is the secret sauce I have found over the years is empathy and love. So
Hmm.
no wonder dogs, are helped that I can
Yeah.
help dogs because I have such great
Yeah.
empathy, love for dogs. Most people, and so, okay, all people. But that's really what it is. So it's intention. It is, and in fact, just before coming in here, I thought, can I, I asked because we do need to ask source, God,
Right.
whatever you want to call
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
If it's in the highest and best good, can I connect with Rosanna's listeners?
Hmm.
And what I can actually feel lately, I've found it's more intense. I can feel shifts going on, like a sinus. It feels like sinuses are shifting, or
Yeah.
something in my stomach. A stomach will growl. If you burp sometimes, this is all energy moving. But I
Right.
got a yes using muscle testing, and this is how we do it, right? So
Yeah.
I use this link kind of thing, but you can use what we call the falling log, or you
Mhm.
can use the sway test, which is you sway forward for yes and back for no,
Okay.
and just say basically, can I connect with?
Okay.
And sometimes you might get a no.
Yeah.
Maybe their team doesn't want you working on them. Maybe there's something they need to experience
Yeah.
first. I've been blocked with that before. But this time I just connected. So I am connected with your audience,
Excellent.
which is
Oh, that's great.
strange, right?
That's
They're
so great.
listening in
Yeah.
the future, but I'm
That's
connected
right.
with them
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, because this is
Yeah.
pre-recorded, but like
Yes.
you said, the energy
Mhm.
has no time or space or anything like that. So,
Exactly.
I want you to show us the link, the muscle testing link a little later on. So I don't want to
Yes.
lose that. But
Sure.
I was going to ask, with the way that you found that you had the osteoarthritis, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
Um, did the fact that you had to go to this fundraiser, did that provoke it? Like it,
Yeah, I should have explained what the whole context of that was. Just that I was doing a lot of moves that I wouldn't typically do.
okay.
So something that was, I've always had little issues with my knee. Like I remember even in high school having to go to the emergency room because my knee locked out and it wasn't straightening. So I always thought I just have faulty knees, right? And then
Right.
sometimes there's pain and, especially when I gained a lot of weight during pregnancy, you always have an excuse for it, right? It's
Right. Yeah.
fine. I'll take an Advil, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But during this particular time, it flared up. Now, I didn't know what emotion code was. I
Hmm.
didn't know anything about energy healing, but the me today looks back and says, there were issues. I had
Right.
just left my marriage, my second marriage, mind you, 2 months prior. No, a
Oh,
month prior. So there was something going on in the
right.
knee. And this is why I say we got to listen to our bodies. My body was screaming at me, and
Right.
I was not listening. I was just medicating it.
Right. Right. And finally you paid attention.
Yeah.
So it worked. So you felt physically something that was there, and then you
Yeah.
used the emotional code to heal it. Does it
Eventually, like
work
years later, like
years later?
it
Right.
came and went, and I accepted it as
Right.
fact.
Yeah. But sometimes like you have to get hit on the head a few
You do.
times.
Oh, I just released a podcast episode of my own about that, how the universe will whisper. I'll be
Yes.
really kind and really patient.
Yeah.
Your guides, I call it my team, right? They're
Yeah.
so patient. They're like, hey, maybe pay attention to the emotions that you felt leaving that marriage. Maybe you should, yeah, maybe, we're going to give you this headache. So maybe you just stop and relax.
Right.
Oh, you didn't do that. Okay, we're going to give you this knee ache. Okay, so now you're going to take on this other thing, this dance
Yeah.
competition. We are going to make it so that you can't even move, let alone
Right.
dance in this
Yeah.
competition. And I had to deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, I didn't deal with it effectively then, but I did eventually.
Eventually, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And they keep nudging, right? They keep
Yes.
you until you
Yes.
do it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is why in my own episode I talk about being hit in a hit and run, and in a SUV BMW that I had been driving. That or actually the issue here was that I wasn't driving it that particular time. It was my then partner
Hmm.
who was not insured for the rental
Oh,
vehicle that we
wow.
were in.
Yeah.
So the universe was like, okay, here's like a $30,000 bill for you. You escaped with your life. I was actually very grateful, Santa. Like the universe,
Yeah.
when it tells me things now, no matter how negative, I say, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you
That's
more,
so important.
please.
Yeah.
Tell me what this is supposed to mean. And I
Yeah.
always get an answer.
Maybe maybe we can link that because I'm going to have your contact information in the
Sure.
description. So maybe I can link to that podcast because
Great.
that sounds really interesting and I bet a lot of people would want to hear it. Yeah.
I think it'll be nice, like a compliment to this one. So thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll do that.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so, okay, so we know that when we're physically not well, emotion code can help us. Now,
Yes.
does it work the other way around? So can emotion code help identify these
Yes.
trapped emotions?
Yes, exactly. So you can be very specific and say, is my knee, is this thing in my knee a trapped emotion? But most of the time, if I work with you as a client, yeah, you could tell me you have this specific ache or pain, but most of the time people say just work on me. And
Right,
so
yeah.
I will just say what can we release for Rosanna today? Okay, great. And I will come up with it. So again, it's coming through me. I have no idea what it has
Wow.
anything to do with. I
Yeah.
can usually ask where in the body it is, but again,
Mhm.
we don't usually need to know that. That's the joy.
Right.
It's very passive. And so what I
Yeah.
love about it is not like you're reliving trauma or anything. It's just
Right.
released.
Right. Because a lot of the therapy makes you relive that trauma.
Yes.
You're trying to make that trauma, I guess, more dealing with it more. Like instead of, being at a 10, when you're thinking about that trauma, you're lessening the effects of that trauma. Whereas
Yes.
in emotion
Yes.
code, you're not
You're not.
going
You're
there.
no. And you know what I love about this? You made me remember something I'd missed, and that is that what the emotion code will do is these traumatic memories will no longer hold that emotional charge. So
Wow.
things that
Right.
would trigger us into relive.
Yeah.
And by the way, your body doesn't know the difference between a memory of something and
No.
the actual experiencing of it, which is why, as you said, it can be so traumatic to go
Right.
through therapy. And by the way, therapy is wonderful. Please, if you've got a great therapist, keep going.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is a beautiful complement to that, where now all of a sudden that thinking of that thing, that breakup, that experience, I don't have the
Mhm.
charge. It's okay to remember it.
Right. Yeah. And I love that you said, therapy is great.
Mhm.
If people have to be on medication, that's fine. Like we're
Absolutely.
not
No.
shaming anybody.
No.
But using this energy healing as a complement is just so wonderful. And you know what? Why not, take the medication, do this energy healing,
Mhm.
and then maybe one day you can, get off the medication or
Yeah.
not, or continue taking,
Yeah.
but just having this, modality is amazing.
It's another tool in the toolkit. I myself,
Yeah.
and I'm an open book. I took a very small dose of Cipralex, an antidepressant, which for a while I remember saying, "I wish this was in the water. Everybody needs it. It's amazing. It just takes the edge off." And following kind of a traumatic career experience, and so
Mhm.
that worked for years, and it made me a better mother.
Yeah,
Eventually, doing this work, I have come off it. Again, it was such a tiny dose; it was easy for me, but I would never recommend you do that without the help of a physician.
exactly. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
really, if we want to talk about the word disease, it's dis-ease.
Yes.
So, yes, doctors can help us with it. we need to get to the root of what that is that we are not easy with. What are we resisting? And
Right.
resistance to joy is what we're talking about here.
Mhm.
With all this trauma, it causes all the thinking that comes about as a result of trauma, or life experiences, all of our beliefs, that's causing our feelings, which are, you know, setting up camp inside our body somewhere.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's that causes disease.
Yes. Yeah.
May not be the only cause, although I might say I believe that it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you bring a good point. Um, so what are some of the techniques and practices that you can do to you know, become more attuned with the body's signals? Because a lot of the times, we might get those nudges, but we
Yes.
kind of ignore them.
Sure. The one thing I mentioned earlier that I believe is the best way to get in tune with our body is the sway test. And it's something I can do in big groups, in person, virtually, and it never ceases to amaze people. It's the idea that your body holds so much wisdom. It's trying to tell you, right? You can
Hmm.
play 20 questions with your body, basically. Or another way to think of it is it's like a lie detector. This is the same thing that the same premise on which lie detectors work. So if you're somebody who feels like, well, I kind of tell myself stories, I kind of lie to myself about things, or
Yeah.
I gloss over things, or I stuff them down, I repress, I suppress, which is like almost all of us.
Yeah.
Then the sway test or any kind of muscle testing will get you in touch with the truth. Now, you have to be courageous enough to accept the truth. And I'm
Right.
telling you, there's nothing more humbling than asking your
Yes.
body something like, have I been avoiding X?
Yeah.
Yes. Right. So that just a precursor. So you can ask yourself, is this supplement good for me? Should I be eating this? Is this promotion something that will serve me? Will it,
Hmm.
serve my highest and best good? You can start with small things like, is this a food that I want to eat? What movie do I want to watch? So start small,
Right.
but you're basically asking your body yes or no. And I'll demonstrate how you do it.
Yeah.
It's a good thing I'm
Yeah.
standing right now. So I
Okay.
usually have people stand, in profile,
Hmm.
so that you can see what's happening. You'll want to do a little level set to start. So eyes closed if you can, feet hip width apart. You are going to be, I should do it this way so you can
Yeah.
hear me better. And hands at your side, just very straight up. Okay. And
Hmm.
then you want to know what a yes is. For the very rare individual, a yes is actually backwards, but
Okay.
most of us it's forward. So you will just say your name. So in my case, I'm going to say, my name is Elissa, and my body will naturally lean forward.
Okay.
So if I want to say, my name is Steve, my body is naturally leaning back. This works for any number of things, right? But you can say, just to get your level set, show me a
Right.
yes. Like just say, show me a yes. That's my yes. So that's
That's your
a
yes.
very strong
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
And show me a no. Okay. So you're swaying backwards and forwards.
Okay.
So try that. It's a great way to build trust with yourself.
Hmm.
What you don't want to use it for is telling the future. That's something
Right.
and we learned this when we were trained in the emotion code. That's not what this is for. Like, is this thing going to happen to me? So you have to be careful about how you ask.
Right. Okay.
Your higher self, your subconscious,
Yeah.
who was listening, is very literal too. So you've got to be very specific with questions, right? Does this serve me? Is this in
Hmm.
my highest and best good?
Right.
Is this something that I need to pay attention to? Because if you think like, oh, my gut's telling me, is this a yes or no? Like I think of the time I got engaged that second time. I remember my gut I remember that feeling and it was like screaming at me. If only I'd known the sway test then.
Right.
Should
Yeah.
I say yes or should I say no? My body would have been way back. Live and learn. We all have
Exactly.
our own
Yeah.
path, but it all
It
happens
was,
for
you know
a
what,
reason.
you had to go through that experience, right? And
Absolutely.
so,
Life is
yeah,
duality. We need pain to appreciate pleasure. We
yes,
need the darkness to appreciate the light. That's
yeah,
the journey I'm on. And I
yeah,
love
yeah.
it.
That's amazing. So I think I'm going to try it. I hope
Try
the
it. Yeah.
listeners try it too. Yeah.
Yes.
And so you talked about some daily habits, like you talked about meditating. So that's a habit that, everybody can do to support that emotional and physical well-being. Are there any other habits maybe that, you yourself? do
Yes.
or that you can
Yes,
say?
absolutely. Well, I do get in my body. So that is so important. You've got to connect with your body. We are so in our heads.
Yeah,
So, I've been doing hot yoga lately, which is again something I avoided, much like meditation. Probably because I was resisting getting to know myself. But if you can take up yoga, some form of yoga, I mean, these days you can get anything online for free on YouTube.
yeah, yeah.
So try that, or just a run or a walk. So try that regularly. The other thing that saved me a year and a half ago was journaling. And everybody
Mm-hmm.
says it, but I need you to know just how amazing this is as therapy,
I love
as
it. Yeah.
oh, I do it daily where I have questions. I can sit and muscle test questions and talk to higher self. I talk to
Mm-hmm.
myself all day long, but
Mm-hmm.
there's something about the journaling. It helps you work the stuff out. It's like
Yeah,
having this amazing therapist sitting there as you go through it. And
yeah,
just be like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, it's only for you. So if it's a spiral notebook or if it's just your laptop, just open up a page or on your
yeah,
phone in the notes function, it doesn't matter. But the more you can get out on a page or a screen, the more clear you're going to be on who you are. You'll be clear on who your, what I call the inner leader is,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
I love journaling as well. And
yeah,
what
you
I
too.
love about journaling too is that, sometimes I'll go back, because I'll have a situation similar to the past, and then I'll go back and I'll think, and I'll have written about it, and it's like, oh yeah, this is what I was feeling when it happened to me 2 months ago.
Yes.
Because we forget, and at least I
Yes.
forget,
I
like
do. Yeah, we do.
yeah, and it's like, okay, let me go back, and then I read it, and it just kind of grounds me more. And even in dealing with, if something happens again, similar to what happened in the past, it just gives me that
It's
guidance, the guidance
guidance
that,
fuel. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that I need to kind of, deal with that again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I would say you brought something up again that's really important here, and it's the patterns. So the universe does speak to us in patterns. It's that whole
Hmm.
thing, we'll just keep talking louder and louder till you get it. So look for the patterns. I
Yeah,
cannot stress this enough. Like,
yeah.
and journaling, yes, as you say, journaling can help you look for that. How did I feel at that time? What was going on? It can
Hmm.
give you clues. So if you start to look, I'm getting a little off topic, but if you start to look metaphorically at what's been going on, if there's a pattern, right?
Hmm.
The pattern where I keep losing my glasses, it's so fun to play the metaphor game. I keep losing my glasses. I just journaled about that. That happened last week. Is there something I'm unwilling to see? I just
Right.
made that one up, but
Yeah.
that's what I would look at.
Yeah.
I found that, and I like something happened with my foot the other day. I'm like, am I dragging my feet on something? Muscle test, yes. So the patterns are there for a reason, and
Yeah.
it's a message to you. And if you're journaling, then you, as you say, you can remember things that otherwise you would. We think we're going to. I'll totally remember that. You don't.
Oh,
You
how
never
many
do.
times, yeah, have I said that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll remember that. And now it's, I have my phone with me most of the time. Not that I look at it all the time, but I use it because I'll get these ideas or I get these thoughts and I'll just write it down because I
Love
know
it.
now, like this is
Yeah.
honesty with myself. I won't remember. You,
No. I
you know,
say if it doesn't go in my calendar and my notes function, it didn't happen. I
exactly.
don't
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about your personal experience. Do you have anything else you want to add in terms of your own personal experience with emotion code?
Oh goodness. I think I've shared my highlights on that. I mean, I've certainly
Yeah,
helped friends and family. And that's really, I haven't been until recently, haven't even done this for profit. It's just
yeah,
been, my own experiences with, I sense that. And the more in tune with myself I am, the more in tune with
mm,
the universe I am, the more in tune I am with other people's guides. So I'll
yeah,
tell you what beautiful thing that has come out of this is my coaching clients, they're corporate coaching clients. I have a few
mhm,
who are game for this. I
yeah.
have found that if, we have a relationship such that they'll be talking about something and my intuition will kick in and say, okay, your guides are taking me here.
Hmm.
Somehow I feel like I need to ask you about this or I need to tell you about this. And they are blown away. And
That's
we're able in
amazing.
that moment to, yeah, I'll say, I feel like we need to release some blocks to whatever it is, like
Yeah.
whatever's going on that they're telling me about. I'm able to elevate that whole experience by releasing what's not serving them, drawing attention to it intuitively,
Hmm.
and it's in some cases, yes, healing. Although sometimes there's processing involved. So they'll give me heck. They'll message me after and go, okay, I've got a wicked headache. Like just drink water. It'll be done tomorrow. You're processing. It's okay. You're going to be
That's
better.
right. Yeah, yeah. Can you share a success story with one of your clients? I mean, no names, but just if you have one
Yes.
on the top of your head.
Sure, I am thinking the one that I was just thinking about. And let me see if I can recall because it was an amazing story. So she has an ex that she's co-parenting with, not
Mhm.
well. So she's got a lot of anger. And from the sounds of it, of course, I'm only hearing from her, but I'm like, yeah, you kind
Right.
of have good reason to feel angry. Good, feel that anger. Let's release it. We want to make sure that the kids are looked after, that you can co-parent
Mhm.
effectively. So I was listening. She said, this he's making demands on me all the time. He wants me to respond to his texts immediately. He's bugging to talk to the lawyer and he's this and that. And I said, okay, that doesn't sound good.
Mhm.
But if we think about what we might be reflecting or projecting, let's explore that. Is it possible that you do that to him? And I knew the answer. She said, no, no, I'm very respectful of his time. And
Yeah.
I said, okay. And as we kept talking, I said, well, hold on, hold on. Do you know anybody else who's not because he's not respecting your time? That's the issue. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. That. And I said, well, do you know anyone else who's not respecting your time? She said, because I knew the answer. She said,
Right.
children. I'm like, yeah, no, children are meant to not respect your time.
Yeah,
That's assumed. That's a given.
that's a
No,
given. Yeah.
who else? Who else? And she couldn't figure it out. And I said, you, because she had started the whole session by saying, I feel like I am just energetically done. I know I have to go to the gym, but I'm sitting and scrolling. I feel like I'm out of my body. I don't know what is happening. And
Hmm.
so in that moment, when I said that, you're not respecting your own time, she said, oh my gosh. So there was that little moment. That's kind of a coaching moment. And
Yeah.
then I instinctively needed to do some clearing and I cleared something for her at age 33. Now I haven't didn't know her back then. I've known her
Hmm.
for a few years, but not that long. Age 33, and I cannot remember the trapped emotion. But she said, oh my goodness, Alyssa. And she said, this is a year I miscarried at that time.
Oh.
And Alyssa, that feeling that you just cleared, I can't even remember what the feeling was. Was it shock? Was it whatever it was, or
Mhm.
unsupported, I think. Um, she said, that's the feeling I'm getting that's making me sit in bed right now. The feeling
Wow.
I told you off the top. And as soon as I cleared that, she began to, well, her actions spoke louder, right? She was able
Mm.
to get out. She was able to do things. And sometimes it doesn't happen that rapidly, but
Right.
just
Yeah.
knowing what that connection is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no, yeah. And so because a lot of the times, like you said, we suppress them and we don't even know
Yeah.
what we're suppressing and what we're bottling up. That's amazing.
So much like 95% of what we do is based on the subconscious, and so much of this work involves just bringing the subconscious to light, because once
Mhm.
we shine a light on these shadows and these ridiculous beliefs and these awful things, they go away,
Yeah.
they scurry away like cockroaches when the lights are turned off
That's
on.
amazing. Yeah.
So I really
Yeah.
do believe in just knowing it. You name it, you tame it.
That's amazing.
Mm.
Amazing. And so at the beginning, you said that you got the okay to kind of uh, work with the audience. So
Yes.
do you want to like our time is almost coming up, but do you want to like
Yes.
maybe do something
I'll do
really
a
quickly
couple.
or
Sure. Yes. And so because it's a group of people,
yeah.
I'm not going to be able to get specific about ages or anything like that.
Mhm.
But what it's funny because I wanted to ask what blocks, if there are any energetic blocks to, I believe I said wellness, but I was getting no, I get
Okay.
success in my head. So blocks to success. Why not? Like, let's look. And so these are going to be common blocks to success that
Okay.
many of the listeners are experiencing, the ones that
Okay.
I'm tapping into. So I just want to make sure I'm still tapped in using my muscle testing. Okay. Yes. How many blocks are there? One, two, five. Let's see how many I can release. Okay.
Wow.
Well, that makes sense for a group.
Yeah.
Even number. So I'm going through the columns. Is it column A? Is it column B? It's column B. Is it even number, odd number? Five. I'm getting funny. I'm getting unsupported. I just mentioned
That's
unsupported.
can you
Okay.
show us your link thing? Like because you're doing
Yes.
the
So
link.
Yeah, so I've got like two chains here
Yeah.
with my fingers, and I'm using the middle fingers of both hands, middle finger and thumb. And you've got to be really gentle with it. You can't hold on too tight. I made that mistake before, but basically you're going to pull a little bit gently. And
Hmm.
this is a yes, and this is a no. It breaks
Okay.
through if it's a no, right? It's weak. My
Yeah.
body is weak when I think no. I think love, I think war, right? So that's what it does. So now I'm making my way through this chart, and it
Okay.
speedily gets you to where you're going to be. So the first one is unsupported. Now I'm going to use, and I'm actually magnifying my intention with a magnet, and we swipe it on our governing meridian, any point in the governing meridian, and I'm going to release. I am going to release unsupported. And I'm going to yawn a lot, and it's not because you're boring, Rosanna. That is again an energy. It happens usually as a yawn, but I could burp, and it's apologies if I do. Okay, so that's that. Next one, column A, even number, odd number, A1, A5. Dread is the second one. Okay. And I'm going to release dread. I felt that the other day. I had to, I felt something in my chest and I thought, aha, this is an
Ah,
associated thing from a while ago.
yeah.
Hopefully didn't become trapped because I was able to identify it. But are we releasing dread for the collective? Yeah. So far. Yeah. Okay. I said there were four. We're blowing through them. Column A, column B, even number between 6. Shock. Shock. I did mention shock before, didn't I? Okay.
I think
That's
so.
one of them. And so releasing shock, the collective. And I felt that one a lot, maybe because shock is such an intense emotion. Okay, have we released them all so far? Great. One more. Column A, column B. Lack of control. I know women feel a lack of control often. That's a common one with a lot of my female
Hmm.
clients, releasing lack of control. All of these things blocking our collective success. Right, so let me check in. Have I released all four of them? Okay. Yeah. And I would love to hear if any of your listeners experience anything different, feel
Yeah.
like not so triggered in that regard, or, I had more energy. It affects us all differently. Maybe there is an ache or a pain that
Hmm.
was caused by this trapped emotion. Again, this is a more general group uh, clearing, but I have found we do High Vibe, the company that I co-founded with another energy healing practitioner. We used to have these group sessions, and we found it surprisingly effective, and it was a lot of fun
It's
to get
amazing, yeah,
together
when
and
you
release
do
it.
things in a group setting, right? Like the
Ah,
energy is
there's
just
energy.
amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very magnified.
But to the audience, yeah, please, leave your comment below if you felt anything. That's amazing. And I'll leave my comment later on too.
Wonderful. Yes. Yes. Because you're
Yeah,
part of the group.
I'm
So
part of the group.
did
Yeah.
any of it resonate with you? Was there anything that
Um,
came through? I mean, they're pretty, can apply to any point in your life, but if anything stood out, it's probably worth paying attention
yeah, I
to.
think that the unsupportive really hit, like
Hmm.
really
Hmm.
resonated with me. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Like I said, most women can totally relate to that.
Yeah, I
I
think
get it.
so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that can often, for me, it used to manifest as lower back pain. Unsupported. I didn't realize there was this time every year right after Christmas where my back would go out, like 2 days
Yeah.
after Christmas every year. And then I realized
Wow.
it was unsupported.
So, can you leave the audience with maybe your top three tips or advice that they can, take away?
Yes, I thought about this and I thought, I have sort of 3-in-1. And this is my framework for pretty much everything. And it's something that came up in my leadership coaching a while back.
Mhm.
But I believe that if you can use what I call my 3 C's and apply these to, or let every situation, problem, challenge, relationship pass through these 3 doorways, if you will, or
Mhm.
windows of courage, curiosity, and compassion,
Oh,
then
love
your
it.
life will change for the better immediately. So courage to, there are many instances of courage, but is it that, by the way, courage is the one emotion that turns us from negative to positive. So if you have fear, shame is the lowest vibrating emotion at 20. If
Hmm.
you're feeling that, don't judge yourself for it because judgment causes shame.
Hmm.
Simply realize that in order to raise your vibration, courage is the turning point. So
Wow.
whether that's speaking up, whether that's actually going out, doing something for yourself, whether,
Hmm.
whatever courage says to you, what would courage do is what I want you to ask. And
Right.
then be curious about what you find out,
Hmm.
right? And non-judgmental. And there's where the compassion, in this case, self-compassion comes from.
Right, right,
Be kind with others and be just as kind and compassionate with yourself, with the process, with when you slip or you decide, I thought I was going to meditate and I didn't, or I
yeah,
didn't listen to this, or I ate too much, or I drank too much. Be kind and compassionate. Be curious about why, be
right.
courageous enough to ask, be curious to ask, and be compassionate to yourself. Your life will change for the better immediately.
Love
That's my
it.
three
Oh,
in one.
love it. Love those three C's. Yeah, and they're easy to remember.
Mm,
Wow, thank you so much, Elissa, for being with
thank
us,
you.
to share your expertise in emotion code. I learned so much. I didn't know what it was. But you gave us so much information about the benefits of this energy healing modality. And it's so important for us to understand the impact that our trapped emotions have on our physical and emotional well-being. And you've helped with that as well. To the
Yeah.
listeners, if you have any questions or want to share your own experiences, please do so by leaving a comment. And if you're interested in exploring emotion care or any other programs that Elissa has, consider reaching out to her. I'm going to have all her contact information below in the description. Elissa, again, it was a pleasure talking with you, and thank you all for watching. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more wellness content. And we'll see you next time on the Balanced Path. Elissa, all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rosanna. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.